Craig, so much to talk about. Let's begin with the actual substance of this debate. Yes, there was a lot of fiery rhetoric. There were a lot of verbal jabs, unproven, bizarre allegations, and we'll get to that in a moment. But in terms of substance, if you will, which candidate did better when addressing the real issues like the economy, like reproductive rights, like immigration?
Yeah, I think it's such a good point. And the weird thing about this debate is that a lot of Americans feel they already know enough about both candidates. And this is a reason that substance doesn't always take the first chair in thinking about the debate. But on questions of immigration, Donald Trump's policy has been and continued to be to try to deport 1 million or perhaps 11 million people from the United States. He was asked how would he do this, go door to door, and he did not answer that question. By comparison, Kamala Harris's answer was almost exclusively the one you reported on. There had been a bill in Congress, and she supports that bill. On questions of reproductive rights, the division between the candidates is quite clear no matter what they would say during the debate. Donald Trump has taken responsibility and celebrated the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Kamala Harris supports the reestablishment through statute of abortion rights in America. And on the economy, Donald Trump has put forward a policy of very significant tariffs, perhaps 10%, perhaps 20%, sometimes with respect to China, up to 50%. And Kamala Harris laid out a plan that involves funding for new homeowners, involving a tax credit for children, parents of children, and what she calls an opportunity economy. So there were substantive themes. The exact question of how would any of these things work, it was much too high-level, abstract a discussion, I think, for a lot of those details to really come forward.
One of the most weird moments of this debate was when both of them were talking about immigration. And then Trump goes off and talks about Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio. I'm sure you've heard this clip again, but let's play it again, and then I want to get your take on it.
And look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame.
They're eating the pets in Springfield, Ohio, Craig. By the way, Springfield police released a statement. There have been no credible reports or specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community. Where do I even go with that?
So two things. One of them is on the matter of substance. I've watched a lot of presidential debates with a lot of candidates I supported and did not support. This is the most outrageous thing that I've ever seen any candidate say in any presidential debate. It is a very false and terribly pernicious story that the J.D. Vance has been peddling for the last week. I was shocked to see it featured this way in a presidential debate. The second point is that one other thing that's going on in this debate is a debate about who is, this is a word you had used, a word that Tim Walz used, who is weird and who is cool. Who is winning the social media battle. And I think this particular turn of phrase is so outrageous as a substantive matter, but it is also being played for comedy on the internet. And so I think that not only is it terribly outrageous to have a presidential candidate say anything like this as a substantive matter, but he is also paying a political cost in a totally different dimension, where he is talking about weird things that no one can believe, and no one can believe he would say them. And I think that he's really taking a very significant hit in the new media environment that we live in.
Let's move on to Kamala Harris. I mean, of course, her expression was priceless when Donald Trump was talking about all of this. Is there anything she should have, could have been saying in the more than 90 minutes of debate that she didn't, that it was a missed opportunity for her?
Yes, there were lots of things like that. She did not emphasize sort of the 11 million deportation plan or a lot of substantive issues. But I think that wasn't really her goal. I think she prepared for this debate extremely well, and her team has to count the success as a nearly total victory for their objectives. They wanted her to come across as smart, as presidential, as composed, as intelligent and educated and informed on the issues. I think she did all of those things. She, at exactly the right moments, talked about his rally sizes, which prompted him to veer off into what could be called weird land, to a very dangerous area for him politically. She talked about his criminal convictions, at which point he became very upset. I think probably she would want to call him grumpy. He looked uncomposed. He looked frustrated. He looked old, for want of a better term. And so I think that they accomplished almost all the things that they wanted to. One quick note for people who would watch the very first minutes of the debate, you could see that Vice President Harris understood the consequence and the gravity of the moment. She was nervous to start out this debate. It wasn't clear how it would go, but I think by the end of the night, they were extremely happy with how things went. And conservatives and Republicans and the Trump campaign are left picking up the pieces.
So let's talk about Taylor Swift. She obviously watched the debate as well and said she's supporting the Harris-Walz ticket. When Donald Trump was asked his reaction on Fox News, he called her a very liberal person and said she will probably pay a price for her support in the marketplace. I don't even know what that means. But how big of a deal is Taylor Swift's support, considering what a huge following she has? And at the end of the day, Craig, will any of this, will the debate, will Taylor Swift's support move the needle among those undecided voters in crucial battleground states like where you are in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, so a quick thing about Taylor Swift. This is another area where the cool, weird divide is sort of in play. Donald Trump had tried with some very bizarre fake images to claim that she supported him. She did not. But the picture where she announced her support for Kamala Harris was herself with a cat, evoking two things. One, of course, J.D. Vance had for quite a while struggled with childless cat ladies as a characterization of his opponents, which did not help him with suburban women in the United States. And, of course, that quote that you and I just talked about people eating their cats. And so this image of Taylor Swift with a cat in the social media environment on this particular night with this particularly weird moment in the debate, I think had a real power, again, on the internet, which is not real life. So the second point, or not directly real life, the second point about what's going to make a difference in Pennsylvania, what's going to make a difference in swing states, it's very, very hard to estimate. I think the best experts that I have seen would predict probably a 1 or 2% jump in the polls, maybe nationally and probably in swing states, because Vice President Harris showed herself to be a capable, competent person, while I think Donald Trump's visuals and his sort of performance art of the debate were much less satisfactory. But in the end, choosing a president among people who are so well known, among policy differences that are so stark, I think it's very hard to put yourselves in the mind of an undecided voter facing these two choices. And I think that's what's going to keep it, in maybe the best or worst sense, exciting all the way to the end of the election.
All right, such different visions for America. Professor Craig Green, thank you.